Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely. Always excited to see what we uncover.
Well, today we're taking on Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh, interesting choice.
Yeah, I figured it'd be a good one to, really unpack and see what practical stuff we can pull out.
Makes sense. It's a pretty popular one these days.
It is, and for good reason, I
For
think.
sure. Lots of good stuff in there.
And I thought it was really interesting, Clear's own story, right? Like starting from this place of, well,
Yeah, that injury.
yeah, like brutal high school injury.
Yeah, multiple fractures, broken nose, the whole works. You wouldn't expect that to be the start of a, self-improvement journey.
Exactly. You'd think, that would kind of throw you off track.
Totally.
Yeah.
But he actually talks about how that experience, forced him to think about habits and systems in a whole new way.
Yeah, like how to rebuild from scratch almost.
Exactly. So it's not just some, theoretical stuff. It's rooted in his own, real life experience.
Right, which I think makes it all the more compelling.
For sure. It adds that, human element to it, you
Yeah.
know?
Totally. So I guess our mission today is to, like, distill all that wisdom, those key takeaways from Atomic Habits.
Yeah, and figure out how we can actually apply them to our own lives.
Exactly. Not just read the book and be like, oh, that's interesting, but actually, walk away with some actionable stuff.
Right. Like, how can we use these ideas to build better habits, break bad ones, all that good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So where do we even begin with this whole Atomic Habits thing?
Well, I think one of the core principles is this idea of small changes accumulating over time, like compound interest.
Oh, I've heard that before, the compound interest analogy.
Yeah, it's a powerful one because it shows us that, it's not about some magical overnight transformation.
Right, it's about consistency.
Exactly. Those seemingly insignificant 1% improvements, if you do them consistently, they add up over time. Like, imagine investing a small amount of money every month.
Yeah, it might not seem like much at first.
Right. But over years or even decades, that consistent investment can grow into something significant.
Okay, so it's like skipping the gym once isn't a disaster, but consistently missing those workouts, that adds up.
Precisely. It's the consistency of those small gains and losses that ultimately shapes who we become.
Hmm, that's a powerful thought. So you're saying this applies to everything, not just like fitness or money.
Yeah, Clear argues that it's like a universal principle. It applies to our relationships, our careers, our health, really any area of life.
Okay, so consistent small actions lead to big results.
Oh.
Got it. But how do we actually make those small actions happen consistently? Everyone sets goals, but we all know how often those fall by the wayside.
Right, and that's where I think the trap of the goal-first mentality lies.
What do you mean?
Well, it tricks us into delaying happiness until we reach that finish line, like, I'll be happy when I lose 10 pounds, or I'll be successful when I get that promotion.
Yeah, I definitely fall into that trap sometimes.
It's so easy to do. But what if, instead of fixating on the goal of, say, running a marathon, we focused on building the system that creates a runner?
So it's more about the process than the end point.
Exactly. Focus on the daily habits, the training schedule, the nutrition plan. Those are the things that will actually get you to the marathon finish line.
Okay, I'm starting to see the difference. It's like, it's less about, I want to write a book, and more about becoming the type of person who writes every single day.
Exactly. It's about building that identity as a writer, not just focusing on the end product of the book itself.
That's a powerful reframe.
Yeah.
It makes the whole idea of change less daunting, more about who you are rather than what you achieve.
Right. And that ties directly into Clear's point about how our habits shape our identity and vice versa.
So it's a two-way street.
Exactly. Your habits reinforce your beliefs about yourself, and those beliefs then influence your future actions.
So if I want to be a writer, I need to start acting like one, even if I don't feel like it at first.
Yes. Those tiny actions, performed consistently, are what solidify that new identity.
Like fake it till you make it.
Well, it's more than just faking it. It's about taking those small steps that align with the person you want to become.
Okay, I'm starting to get the why behind the what,
Huh.
but I still need the how. Where do we even begin with making these changes?
Well, I think it all starts with understanding the mechanics of habit formation.
Okay, break it down for me.
So Clear breaks it down into a 4-stage cycle he calls the habit loop.
The habit loop, what's that all about?
Basically, it's a framework for understanding how habits work. The 4 stages are cue, craving, response, and reward.
Okay, cue, craving, response, reward. Sounds kind of technical.
It's actually pretty simple when you think about it. Imagine walking past a bakery and getting hit with that amazing smell of fresh bread.
Oh man, I can practically smell it now.
Right, so that smell is the cue. It triggers a craving for that warm, crusty loaf.
Already craving it.
Right. Then you respond by walking into the bakery and buying the bread. And finally, you get the reward, that delicious taste and feeling of satisfaction.
Okay, I see. So the cue triggers a craving, which leads to a response, and then we get a reward. Got it.
Exactly. And all four of those stages are essential for a behavior to become a habit.
Okay. But how do we use this loop to actually change our behavior, not just understand it?
Ah, that's where things get interesting. And that's something we can dive into next time. How about that?
Sounds like a plan. Cliffhanger ending for part 1.
We'll have everyone on the edge of their seats.
Yeah.
All right, so last time we were talking about the habit loop.
Right, that cue, craving, response, reward cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think we left off on, like, how do we actually use that to change our behavior?
Right. So knowing the loop is just the first step.
Okay, so where do we go from there?
Well, let's go back to that bakery example.
Okay, the smell of fresh bread.
Yeah. So let's say you're trying to cut back on sugar.
Try to be healthier.
Right. So knowing that that smell is going to trigger a craving.
And lead to me buying a croissant.
Exactly. You can start to, like, strategically manipulate the loop.
Manipulate the loop, how so?
Well, for one, you could just avoid walking past the bakery altogether.
Just take a different route.
Exactly. Make the cue invisible.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Right. Or you could, like, pack your own healthy snack.
So you have something else to satisfy that craving.
Exactly. Or you could even, like, change your route so you walk past a fruit stand instead.
Oh, I like that.
Right. Make the cue work for you, not against you.
Ah, so it's not just about understanding the loop. It's about taking control of it.
Exactly. And it's not just about those individual cues and cravings either.
What else is there?
Well, Claire talks about how much our environment influences our habits.
Our environment, like the physical space around us.
Yeah, that's part of it. Like, if you leave cookies on the counter, you're way more likely to snack on them.
Makes sense.
But it goes beyond just physical stuff, too.
How so?
Well, he talks about how we unconsciously imitate the habits of 3 groups: the close, the many, and the powerful.
The close, the many, and the powerful.
Yeah, so like the close is your family and friends, people you spend a lot of time with.
Right, we tend to pick up habits from them.
Exactly. Then the many, that's like the broader social norms of your community or culture.
Okay, so like, if everyone around you is super into fitness...
You're more likely to be into fitness too.
Right, makes sense.
And then the powerful, those are the people we admire or aspire to be like.
So like celebrities or role models.
Yeah, exactly. So the point is, we're constantly being influenced by the habits of those around us.
So it's not just about willpower, it's about who you surround yourself with.
Exactly. You can set yourself up for success by surrounding yourself with people who have the habits you want to develop.
Okay, so finding a tribe that aligns with your desired identity can be a game changer.
Absolutely. It's like choosing your game wisely.
What do you mean?
Like, imagine playing poker against a total novice versus going head-to-head with a seasoned pro.
Yeah, your chances of winning are pretty different.
Exactly. So it's the same with habits. If you're playing the game with people who have good habits, you're more likely to develop those habits yourself.
Okay, choose your opponents wisely.
Exactly. Now, this doesn't mean you have to, like, ditch all your friends who aren't into healthy eating or whatever.
Right, that would be very practical.
No, but it's about being mindful of those influences and maybe seeking out some new ones that align with your goals.
Okay, so join a book club if you want to read more,
Right.
stuff like that.
Exactly. Or, even online communities can be helpful.
Right, there's so many groups and forums for, like, every interest imaginable.
Exactly. So it's about being intentional with the influences you expose yourself to, both online and offline.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about those habits that just feel really hard to stick with? Like, even if I have the right environment and support, I still struggle sometimes.
Yeah, and that's where I think understanding the role of dopamine comes in.
Dopamine, the reward chemical.
Exactly. So our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain.
Right, that's basic human nature.
Yeah, and dopamine plays a big role in that. When we do something pleasurable, our brains release dopamine, and that makes us want to do it again.
So it's like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly. And Clear talks about how we can use this to our advantage when it comes to building good habits.
Okay, how so?
Well, one strategy is to make those good habits more immediately satisfying.
But what if the reward is, like, way down the line? Like, if I'm saving for retirement, I'm not going to see the benefits of that for decades.
Right. That's where it gets tricky.
So how do we deal with those delayed rewards?
Well, one thing you can do is try to find ways to add a little bit of immediate pleasure to the habit itself.
Okay, give me an example.
So, like, if you hate going to the gym, maybe you allow yourself to listen to your favorite podcast only while you're working out.
Oh, I like that. It's like you get a little reward in the moment.
Exactly. Or you could, like, buy yourself a new workout outfit that you love.
Make it more enjoyable.
Exactly. And for those really long-term goals, like saving for retirement, Clear recommends making those rewards more tangible.
What do you mean?
Like, instead of just having a number in your head, create a visual representation of your goal.
So like a vision board.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you're saving for a trip, put up a picture of your destination where you'll see it every day.
Okay, so it's like a visual reminder of what you're working towards.
Exactly. It helps to keep you motivated and on track.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I guess having an accountability partner can help too, right? Like someone to cheer you on and keep you honest.
Absolutely. Accountability can be a huge factor in habit change.
So find a workout buddy or a writing partner.
Exactly. Or even just someone to check in with regularly and share your progress.
Right, because sometimes just knowing that someone else is aware of your goals can be enough to keep you going.
Exactly. It's like having a built-in support system.
I like it.
So we've talked about, like, finding your tribe and making habits satisfying.
Right, and those visual reminders for long-term goals.
Exactly. But there's another piece to this puzzle that I think is, like, super important.
Okay, what's that?
It's the idea that, sometimes we focus so much on willpower.
Yeah, like I just need to try harder.
Exactly. But willpower is kind of a limited resource.
What do you mean?
Well, it's like a muscle that gets tired after you use it too much.
Okay, I can see that.
So if you're constantly relying on willpower to resist temptation, you're going to burn out eventually.
So it's like trying to run a marathon on an empty stomach.
Exactly. You might start strong, but you're bound to hit a wall.
Right, makes sense.
So instead of just trying to white-knuckle your way through it, Clear suggests a more proactive approach.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
It's all about environment design.
Environment design.
Yeah, basically it's about creating an environment that supports your desired behaviors.
So instead of constantly battling temptation, you just like remove it from the equation.
Exactly. Like we talked about hiding those sugary snacks.
Right, make the healthy stuff more visible.
Exactly. But it applies to other areas of life too.
Give me an example.
Well, think about procrastination.
Oh yeah, my nemesis.
Right. So if you're trying to work, but you're constantly getting bombarded with distractions.
Like social media notifications and emails and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's no wonder you're struggling to focus.
Yeah, so it's not about blaming yourself for being lazy. It's about recognizing that your environment is working against you.
Precisely. So instead of relying on willpower to resist those distractions, you can redesign your workspace.
Okay, so like turn off notifications, put your phone in another room.
Yeah, exactly. Create a dedicated work zone that signals to your brain it's time to focuses.
Ah, so it's like setting the stage for success.
Exactly. And remember, our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain.
Right, we talked about that with dopamine.
Exactly. So if you want to make a habit stick, make it enjoyable.
We talked about strategies like temptation bundling and finding those Goldilocks tasks.
Yeah, those are great, but there's more we can do.
Like what?
Well, Clear talks about the importance of choosing rewards that align with your desired identity.
That's interesting.
It's not just about any old reward. It's about finding rewards that genuinely reinforce the person you want to become.
Okay, I think I see what you mean.
Like, if your goal is to be healthier, rewarding yourself with junk food after a week of healthy eating, that's kind of counterproductive.
Right, it's sending mixed messages.
Exactly. A better reward might be a new workout outfit or massage, or even just taking some time for yourself to relax and recharge.
Something that actually supports your goals.
Exactly. It's about investing in rewards that pay dividends in the long run.
Makes sense. But, it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind and lose sight of the bigger picture.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, you get so focused on checking off those daily to-dos that you forget why you're doing them in the first place.
Right. And that's where reflection comes in.
Reflection.
Yeah, like taking some time to step back and ask yourself, is this still serving me? Is this moving me closer to my goals?
Okay, so it's not a set it and forget it approach.
Not at all. It's about constantly checking in and making adjustments as needed.
And I guess habit tracking can be helpful for that, right? Seeing those patterns and trends.
Absolutely. Data can be super valuable for this process of reflection and adjustment.
Right, it's like having a progress report for your habits.
Exactly. You can see what's working, what's not, and make course corrections along the way.
I like it. So it's not about being perfect. It's about being flexible and adaptable.
Exactly. And even with all the best strategies and data in the world, there will be times when you stumble.
Oh, yeah, sure,
You
sure.
might miss a workout or indulge in that extra slice of cake or hit the snooze button one too many times.
We're all human.
Exactly. And that's okay. The important thing is to not let those slip-ups derail you completely.
So it's not about beating yourself up, it's about getting back on track.
Precisely. Clear emphasizes that behavior change is a journey, not a destination. There will be setbacks and challenges, but the key is to keep learning, keep iterating, and keep moving forward.
So it's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And recognizing that each setback is an opportunity to learn and grow.
I love that reframing. It takes the pressure off.
Right. It's not about being perfect, it's about being persistent.
This has been an awesome deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about atomic habits.
Me too. It's such a rich and insightful book.
And I think we've really unpacked some practical takeaways that our listeners can actually apply to their own lives.
Absolutely. Remember, it's not about overnight success or radical overhauls. It's about those tiny changes, those seemingly insignificant 1% improvements that accumulate over time and ultimately shape our lives.
So find those small wins, celebrate your progress, and keep moving forward, one habit at a time.
Beautifully said. That wraps up our deep dive into atomic habits. We hope you've enjoyed the journey and feel inspired to start creating the life you want, one habit at a time. Until next time, keep diving deep.